All right, welcome back. Hopefully, you got through section one, the introduction, answered those questions, and also completed the preview for that, and then took a look at the key content terms for chapter 21. But here we are for section two. This is one of our visual discovery activities, and the name of this section is Confronting the Issue of Slavery. So what you're going to do in this activity, you're going to decide which events in the mid-1800s kept the nation together and which events pulled the nation apart. So when we talk about visual discovery, we're talking about what can we learn from a picture. So we've got one picture here. Think about what we've got. It looks like an important meeting's happening, possibly a debate of some sort, somebody giving a speech, a lot of people watching. There you go, one picture. Take a look at some of those details, see what you think. The next one here is a picture that looks like a gunfight of sorts. There's a guy on the ground, there's people shooting at each other. Yeah, looks Wild West-ish. Next one here. Let's see, it looks like somebody's giving a speech. Oh, I see something that says Old Abe. Okay, maybe this is Abraham Lincoln. I don't know. Somebody standing behind him, listening to him. Got a crowd of people. Yeah, so, okay. And our last one is a map. It says the presidential election of 1860. Always take a look at the key first, okay? The colors mean something. States won by Lincoln, states won by Douglas, states won by Breckinridge, states won by Bell. So apparently those colors tell you the different states that each of these people won during the 1860 presidential election. Remember, we have what's called the Electoral College, so that would mean that most of the people in those states voted for a particular candidate. So, all right, interesting. So what you're going to do is you're going to analyze a series of maps, bring to life images to help you understand how tensions developed between the North and the South before the Civil War. So we're going to be doing some acted outs, you're going to be doing some analyzation of maps, all good skills that will help us understand this stuff. So what you want to do is you want to read section 2. So you can hit pause here after I explain it and read section 2 in your notes. So you're going to complete the reading notes for section 2, and let's take a look at what you got to do. So when we zoom in on this a little bit, pull it up here so you can take a look. Somewhat familiar things. Let's take a look here at what number 1 says. Number 1, label the map to show how the Northwest Ordinance regulated slavery. So what did the Northwest Ordinance say about slavery, and then how did it regulate slavery? So ultimately set rules for slavery. So take a look at the map, make sure you're annotating it. You got lots of room to write over here. You can draw lines in here and explain what how the Northwest Ordinance regulated slavery. So we move over to number 2. It says fill in the speech bubbles to show how two arguments in the debate over Missouri statehood. So you got a northerner, he's gonna think one thing about Missouri statehood. And then of course you got a southerner who's looking the opposite way. Chances are he's not gonna agree. And how is he going to view this topic of Missouri statehood? And then on your next page, you go in, don't forget to answer this one. Let me zoom in a little bit so we know what we're talking about. We're still in section 2, so let me drag this down, and there's a question up here. Why was it important to Southerners to keep an equal number of senators from free states and slave states in Congress? So the people were wondering about, why was it important to Southerners to keep an equal number of senators from free states and slave states in the Congress? So why was it important to these people to say, okay, we got to have an equal number of senators from free states and slave states in the Congress. And then mention the defeat of the Talmadge Amendment in your answer. So as you're answering this, mention that this amendment did not pass. Okay, so it was a Talmadge Amendment, probably named after somebody, and explain in your answer how this fits into what Southerners felt about keeping free states and slave states equal. Okay, so let's go back here and see once. So now this is a great time to hit pause, read through section 2, answer those 3 questions, and then we'll take a look at some of the things here that you read about. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you got through section 2 with no problems. Again, any questions before you get going on this? Make sure to ask Mr. O. He is here to help. He wants to help you, but get through that information and see once what you can figure out. So here we are. It says the United States in the year 1819. Okay. First thing I like to do is I like to take a look at my key down here in the left-hand corner. It says free state, that's green, okay, those are free states. Free territory, so that would include the great state of Michigan, right up here. Slave state, that would be here. Look at all of these states that are slave states. They're in the South. Not really much of a surprise there. And then you've got organized territory, and all that means is that there are people moving to these areas that are wanting to apply for statehood. So these would be areas where people are moving and they're going to want to start applying for statehood, and they have to get voted into the United States by the United States Congress. Okay, so what do you see on this map? Well, to me, I'm seeing how states are organized between free and slave, and then you've got all this area over here that's like, what's up? What's going to happen? What does this mean for the United States? There's people living here, they're in these territories, but they're not states yet. So that's what I see. So let's count. How many free states are there? 1. No, that's not a free state. Wait, free states are green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is green, but it says part of MA, so that's Massachusetts. So that can't be counted as a state. So now we have 11 is what I come up with. Hey, look at that, 11. How many slave states are there? Well, slave states are in purple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Huh. Let's see. 11. Look at that. Well, okay, so we've got even amount of free states and slave states. So why did the issue of Missouri statehood pull the nation apart? Why would that pull our country apart? Well, if Missouri wants to come into the United States, it's got a choice. That choice is Missouri going to be a free state or a slave state? So I imagine that would create a lot of debate. So once Missouri comes in, we got to determine. Northern states are going to say we want Missouri to be a free state, whereas southern states would say we want Missouri to be a slave state. So slavery, again, issue. How would you have solved this problem and be able to explain why? So I'm going to let you think about that, ponder that. How would you have solved this problem? Missouri wants to join the United States, free state, slave state. What are you going to do? Think about it, explain why. Remember, always go to the why. Be able to explain your stuff with evidence. All right. So think about that. So now let's take a look at the bottom map. And the question says, how does the bottom map differ from the top map? All right, well, we looked at the top map, United States 1819. Here's 2 years later. Let's take a look. All right, so now we have free states are green, free territory in white, slave state, slave territory. So the slave, okay, I see. So this is slave territory, this is free territory. These are free states, this is slave state. Well, I can tell you one thing, the Missouri Compromise line, that goes through here, so that's different than the first one. And it looks as though they've added a new slave state. Huh. So, yeah. Now, it looks like, oh, well, hold on. ME. So it looks like this is no longer controlled by that. It looks like they added a Maine as a free state. So now they added Missouri, they added Maine, the balance remains between free and slave states. And it looks like this line means something. Okay, Missouri Compromise line. So maybe something, so we have free territory up here, we have slave territory down here. Maybe that tells us something. Maybe these will become slave states or free states in the future, and these maybe become slave states in the future. I don't know. It almost looks like an extension of what it says in the Northwest Ordinance. A couple of things to think about. So there's a couple of questions. According to the bottom map, what compromises might have been made to keep the nation together? Well, the Missouri Compromise line, we talked about that. Think about, they had to draw up this New Deal. What are they going to do about states that are expanding west? Maybe north of the compromise line is free states. South of the compromise line is slave states. Interesting. How might Northerners have reacted to these compromises? Well, think about it. Northerners want states to be free as they come into the United States. Think about how they might have reacted to these compromises. How might Southerners have reacted? They want all the states coming in to be slave states. So how are they going to react to these compromises? Do you think these compromises will keep the nation together or pull it apart? So now you have to do the thinking here. Do you think this is going to keep things together, or do you think this is going to pull it apart? And be able to explain why. Look at the maps, analyze what you read. You'll have no problem answering these questions.